This is Friday, July 6th. There are 12 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2018. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog. Good evening. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
And making her triumphant return as a disembodied voice, Sarah Lacey.
Hello. You can see me waving, or can you?
We cannot.
No,
but
we definitely cannot.
We only care about your opinions right now, because
Yes.
the SDConCast, where we talk about the schedule. We'll be taking comments and questions throughout the show, so send them in by tweeting us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. So since this is the schedule podcast, we'll be going over Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We'll be covering the major rooms. We'll be talking about when we think you should line up. And generally, when we talk about when to get into a room, and how to get into a room, this is to get into the room. This is not to get to the front of the room. This is just to make sure you are in there to see the panel.
Yep.
And so while I am stalling here for time, while I'm just chatting generally, go ahead and get us started, Carrie, on
Wednesday.
Right?
Yeah, it's Wednesday. So Wednesday always kicks off the convention, and Wednesday's always a really weird night. It's preview night. And basically, there's only two things to do from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., which are the only hours that it's open. You can either go to the exhibit floor, or you can make your way up to Ballroom 20, which is where they show a couple of pilots and special screenings. This year, it's going to be the world premiere of Manifest, which is the new, I think, NBC show from Warner Brothers that has Josh Dallas from Once Upon a Time. And then they are also showing a new episode of The 100 before it airs, and then an episode of Freedom Fighters, The Ray, ahead of when it will air. And what I always say about the pilot screenings up in Ballroom 20 is if you're going, it's a pilot screening. It's nothing whatsoever happens on the stage. It's literally the only things that matter are the two screens on the sides. So don't go sit in the middle. It doesn't matter if you're up super close. Like, none of that matters for this. Just get somewhere to where you can see that screen well. And there's plenty of seats. And I'm always so confused by the people who still go straight to the middle at the front. Like, that's not where you want to be in this. So don't do that. But new this year, we do have one other event at 9:30 p.m. There's actually going to be Scare Diego at the Horton Grand, and that's going to be where we're going to get a look at some of New Line Cinema's new horror movies, like The Nun and then It Chapter 2. The ticket draw for sales, the ticket draw to attend the event is going to be in sales starting at 2 p.m. And it sounds right now like you probably need a preview night badge to be able to attend it, which makes sense then why it starts at 9:30, because then if preview night ends at 9, you can just head over there and go to your panel. So
at like table A09 or AA09 or something like that.
Yeah, it's somewhere up there. I mean, basically just head up to sales and be like, where's the ticket draw for Scare Diego?
And it starts at a weird time at 2 o'clock.
2 p.m. Yeah. 2 p.m. is when the ticket draw starts. The panel itself doesn't start until 9:30 p.m.
And are they just handing out tickets, or are they doing a drawing, or do we even know?
Normally, up in Horton, it's a ticket draw. It's not just like first come, first serve. It's normally like you have to draw a ticket. But I guess they technically haven't announced that yet so far this year. But my guess would very much be it'll be the same.
All right. And now we're gonna. That's all there is on Wednesday. That's it. Otherwise, go to the end of the floor and go with the mobs.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, or if you don't have a badge, you can come to our party at McFadden's. Also from 6 to 9.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Thursday, and what we're going to do is we're going to start in the medium-sized to small room and then move our way up to the big room. So we're going to start in room 7AB, and that room has a capacity of 480 people. And Sarah, why don't you handle that room for us?
Yep. Starting at 10 a.m. from 10 to 11, the first panel is Anatomy of a Robot. And it looks like it's the crew of the Weta workshop. They're going to be discussing their the robot from I Am Mother that they brought to life, and just, you know, the whole process of designing, prototyping, all that. So that sounds kind of cool. Then from 11 to 12, we have When Earthlings Became Martians, the National Geographic's Mars Season 2, which is about the show. But one thing I think that's kind of cool there is they've got Andy Weir, who is the author of The Martian, which is going to be he'd be cool to see. And I mean, a whole bunch of other amazing people. If you're really into space and history, I think it'd be a great place in the future, I guess. That'd be a good one to do. This whole day, I think, is really cool stuff. I actually might go to a bunch of these. So from 12 to 1, we have the Stargate franchise, creative storytelling, which I'm very excited about because I love Stargate. I'm going to try and go this year. I missed the one last year. It was packed. So I hope there's more room in this panel this year. And it's basically talking about all the things Stargate. I'm guessing they're going to talk about don't they have the new Stargate Origins? And there's going to be, it's moderated by Kieran Dixon, and Chris Judge is there, who played Teal'c. And it has Darren Sumner and David Reed, which I don't know who they are, but hopefully you do. So it's going to be a cool one. And do you have something to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think they basically run like Stargate websites. So they're like
okay.
in the field.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And then from 1 to 2, we have the pitching hour. And there's this is like a kind of Hollywood. They're going to teach you how to, I think, work on the whole process of pitching shows and creating, you know, your work and getting agents and getting pitch meetings. So it's kind of like a Q&A, and they're going to probably tell you their stories, which is, I'm sure, going to be great. It's got a lot of actors and writers in it.
And randomly has Malcolm Barrett from Timeless, which, you know, would have been a nice crossover if they were going to be doing a Timeless panel if that show had been renewed, but no such luck.
Yeah, that's too bad. I know Andy was very upset about that. But all right, and then moving on, we've got from 2 to 3, the Viz Media panel. And we're going to talk about their stuff. You can read it. It's short.
They'll talk about all kinds of stuff, including like My Hero Academia. But the main thing to know here is that they give away prizes.
Yeah, that's a draw. And from 3 to 4, we have Nico and the Sword of Light, From Sketch to Screen. The creators of that are going to be talking about their Kickstarter for it and the process. So that sounds interesting. And this one looks really cool. From 4 to 5, We Wrote Your Childhood. And it's all the writers from Rugrats, Recess, Hey Arnold, Angela Anaconda. What other ones in there? Yeah, all of the, real monsters. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I think that's awesome.
That's going to be a really fun one, I think. And from 5 to 6 p.m., we have I Can Fix It. And so it says, have you ever watched a movie and wondered how would I do this differently? Some of the most skilled minds in entertainment are thrown some of the most flawed examples of Hollywood mega franchises. You guys can read that. I can't read today. I'm too tired.
Basically, some entertainment people are going to be given like terrible movies and asked, how would you fix this?
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Basically what we all sit around doing after we're done watching a movie. Arguing.
Yeah.
Yes. Why did they do this?
Yes, but these people got a Comic-Con badge out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
They're smart.
Smarter than us.
That's right.
All right, and then from 6 to 7 p.m., we have Writing Marvel and DC's Flagship Heroes. We have Joshua Yale from ING Comics and all other writers from Batman, Wonder Woman, and Spider-Man to discuss how they approach writing their world-famous icons and deal with the expectations of that, which I'm sure there are a lot of. And I think this is, no, it's not the last panel, it's two more. From 7 to 8 p.m., we have Holy Hollywood History, creating the Batman 66 exhibit. And this is basically, I think, discussing they had an old exhibit in 66 with Batman at the Max Factor building, downtown Hollywood.
Yeah, a bunch of Batman collectors basically combined some stuff to make a full, like, museum-style exhibit of all of the Batman shows kind of stuff, and Burt Ward kind of helped along and helped promote it, and I think he's even going to be on this panel.
Yep. It says that at the bottom. Yep. And then at the last panel of the day, we have from 8 to 9 p.m. It's Stephen King's Mr. Mercedes Season 2. You've got the executive producer, Jack Bender, and all the other people. Is there actors in there?
Yeah, there are. There's Harry Treadaway, who was on Penny Dreadful. There's Holland Taylor, who I said, as I was reading this, I was like, I said this last year, because last year I think this panel was in room 8, which has apparently 340 people. So they've bumped poor Holland Taylor up to a slightly larger room that seats 480. It's just crazy to me. But this is a pretty popular show, so.
Maybe next year she'll crack the 500-seat room.
Maybe. All right.
So
go ahead.
This room looks to be kind of like one of those lots of turnover rooms.
I agree.
I think the only thing that's really going to probably cause a problem is possibly the Viz Media panel in the middle of the day. If enough people want to check it out, because there may be a lot of people going for either the giveaways or the My Hero Academia, those kind of things.
Sarah does have a point, though, that last year the Stargate panel was pretty packed. So I feel like that one has the possibility to still be a little bit crowded, especially with one of the actors there.
Yeah, because also considering how much stuff they're doing, there's going to be a lot of notice being paid attention to it this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it will.
So for those two, I would probably show up about an hour early, but I think for all the rest, like, you can probably just walk in, quite honestly.
Mr. Mercedes at the end there?
Maybe like 30 minutes early. I don't think it's going to be like super packed. The fact that it's at 8 p.m. I think also steers a lot of people away.
Right. It's time for dinner, man.
Right.
Food around.
Right. All right, let's move on to the Horton Grand, which the Horton Grand actually seats 240, but again, as far as I'm aware, the way that they are doing the Horton Grand panels again this year is that you will have to go up to the sales pavilion that morning and draw for a ticket to attend. I believe each ticket gets you and a +1 in, but then basically later in the day, you then have to take that ticket over to the Horton Grand to actually attend that panel. If you don't have a ticket, you don't get in. But they are kicking the day off at 12 p.m. with It's Dangerous to Go Alone, which is basically a whole bunch of female authors with moderator Sam Maggs just talking about being awesome, more or less. And I mean, seriously, though, it talks about, like, have your squad. Like, they're literally just talking about how awesome they are, which is fine. At 1:30, we have Once Upon a Forever, which is where different fantasy authors are going to talk about the enduring appeal of fairy tales and other classics. And that's got some people on it like, I saw a good name, Sherilyn Kenyon, Brandon Mull. It's got some cool people on there. And then from 3 to 4, we have Fearless Women, which is going to be tour as they look at women in publishing. And it's got some really cool names in it, like V.E. Schwab, Susan Dennard. Should be a good time. Oh, Shannon McGuire. That should be a lot of fun. And then from 4:30 to 5:30, we've got Superheroes of Body Positivity, which has Steven Universe's Rebecca Sugar. And she has gotten together with the Dove Self-Esteem Project and Cartoon Network, and they are basically promoting body positivity in that panel. And then I think that's it.
The Scared Diego.
Isn't that on Wednesday?
Is it?
Pretty sure.
Oh.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So my copy-paste error then.
Yes, I was like, that should not be on here. But yeah, so that does it for Thursday in Horton.
All right, so next we're moving on to room 6DE, which seats 884. So we're closing in on 1,000-seat rooms. And we have the 10 to 11:15. We're not from around here. Star versus the Forces of Evil and Big City Greens. So it's creators and stars of both of those Disney shows. They're going to do a live table read, and it's going to be basically a bunch of the producers and stars of those shows. At 11:30 to 12:30, we have DC Meet the Publishers, and from this point on, I think it's basically going to be a bunch of DC stuff for a few hours. This one is Dan Didio and Jim Lee, basically talking about all of DC Comics and what you can expect from the range of DC, the DC lines over the next year. At 12:45 to 1:45, we have Spotlight on Jim Lee. It's basically where he sits and he talks about being in comics, and he sketches while he talks. So basically, it's like his How to Draw, and which he will do also this weekend. But it's mainly so he can talk about DC while he draws. 2 to 3 o'clock is Jeff Johns, who is returning to San Diego for another all-access in-depth discussion. Dan Didio, the publisher, will be there to basically moderate it with him. And then we're moving to Marvel now at 3:15 to 4:15 with Marvel Animation, Marvel Rising. And this is for the new animated show that's coming out, and it will include voice actors like Chloe Bennett playing Quake, just like she does in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let's see, we have Milana Vaintrub, Kathleen Kavari, Camille McFadden, Court Lane, Marsha Griffin from the Animation and Development, and some Sana Amana from one of the other executives. So this looks like it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be one of the few chances you have to see some of the people doing Marvel shows, especially Chloe Bennett, since there is not an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel. From 4:30 to 5:30, we have Supergirl 1984, the Warner Archive Collection Blu-ray. And this is bringing together Helen Slater and Mark McClure from the original Supergirl movie back in 1984 to talk about that, because it's getting a release from Warner Archive this year, I think it is. And then we have at 5:45 to 6:45, The Science of Star Trek. And this is basically some people from NASA and Phil Plait and Andrea Bormanis, basically discussing the science of Star Trek. And then at 7 to 8, we have Popular Science Beyond Entertainment. And this is the 3 former Mythbusters second crew of Carrie Byron, Tori Bellucci, and Grant Imahara. And they're basically going to talk about what they're doing and something about Mythbusters, basically just kind of, it's all about them. And then at 8:15 and 9:15, we have the Harry Potter fandom panel, 20 years in the Wizarding World. And it's a bunch of the Harry Potter fandom podcasters and fan site runners basically getting together to talk about Harry Potter and everything about it. And so that is it for this room. I'm not entirely sure if anything is going to be super packed except for maybe some of the DC stuff with Jim Lee, because he always draws a crowd. And of course the Marvel Animation, Marvel Rising, because it is a lot of people's only chance to see Chloe Bennett. So I think that her fans will probably fill up that room pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Star versus the Forces of Evil is also pretty popular, but since it's early, I don't think you need to line up too early for that.
Yeah, just make sure you're getting in line, and you should be fine for that one.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Sarah, you want to walk us through room 6A, which holds 1,040 people?
Yep. We are, this room starts off at 10, from 10 to 11, with kids VO cartoon voices. So this is like, it's just like the kids voiceover acting. It's like the voiceover panel, but with all the kids from things like Steven Universe, Doc McStuffins, Miles of Tomorrowland, Big Hero 6, and more, which should be pretty cool. One of my favorite panels I've ever been to was the voiceover panel, which I have not been back to since my very first year, and it was really great. So I imagine this would be just as cool. Might be more fun because it's a bunch of kids, so who knows what'll happen. And from 11:15 to 12:15, we have WWE Elite Squad. So this is members of Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins will be joined by Matt Hardy and a surprise superstar or two, along with the Mattel team to discuss, I guess, the figures, all their action figures. So that's kind of cool. You never know who will be there. From 12:30 to 1:30, we have 2001: A Space Odyssey 50th Anniversary panel. I'm going to take a look back across half the century and to the distant universe to celebrate one of the most iconic films in history.
This is pretty cool. I'm actually hoping that there's a way to see this locally in one of the theaters locally, because 2001 is an awesome movie, and being able to see it again in this new transfer is going to be pretty cool.
Yep, I bet. From 1:45 to 2:45, we have TMNT, the reboot, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And this one is actually, we've got Omar Miller from Ballers, Ben Schwartz from Parks and Rec, Josh Brenner from Silicon Valley, Brandon Smith, and Kat Graham, and Eric Bazua. So there's quite a few people here. That's going to be probably a pretty cool panel, I would think, to discuss the new
I think so
show.
Too. That's a great voice cast, really.
Yeah. Yep. And then from 3 to 4, we have In Conversation with Robert Kirkman. So he is the executive producer and writer, creator of The Walking Dead. So I'm sure this is going to draw probably a crowd too, because it's always popular. From 4:15 to 5:30, we have the Magnum PI exclusive screening panel. So is this, do you know if are they showing the whole pilot, or is it just a regular panel?
Well, it says screening. So I think they're showing, well, actually it says they present an exclusive sneak peek at the premiere episode. So they might not show the whole thing, but they'll probably show most of it. But yeah, this is basically that annual CBS, I'm not totally sure why it's here panel, but at least it looks fun. So I like the original Magnum PI, so I'm okay with it.
Does he have a mustache in this one?
No, which is so sad.
That's the worst decision they've ever made. That was such a bad idea. I mean, come on.
I know, right? If you're going to do it, come on, do it right.
I'm probably going to end up sitting through it anyway, because this next one at 5:45 to 6:30 is Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the final curtain call, which is like the only thing I'm really excited about other than a few other things. So this is going to have the star Rachel Bloom and her co-creator Aileen Brosh McKenna, and they're going to take a look back at the series and the memorable moments, and hopefully maybe show us some never before seen footage, it says. And it also says special performance. We know the whole cast is in town, or not the whole cast, but a bunch of them are in town for the performance on Saturday. So maybe we'll get a musical number. That would be great.
That would be great. That's my hope as well, because I'll be sitting there with you.
Yep. So from 6:45 to 7:45, excuse me, I had a cough. We have Shooting Clerks, the Kevin Smith biopic. And I don't, so this is just the creators of this. It doesn't look like Kevin's going to be there, right?
Right. That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I'm sure a lot of his fans will enjoy that too.
But a couple of actors from Clerks will be there. Brian O'Halloran and Marilyn Gigley.
Yep. And then from 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., the 21st annual Superhero Kung Fu Extravaganza. And so this is, they said it's different, so I'm not sure what the panel was like before, but it says they're staging an international summit of filmmakers, fighters, and fans from America and Asia to celebrate the best in movie mayhem with premieres, sneak peeks, and clips of 2018's most mind-boggling, eye-bulging, jaw-dropping fight scenes. So that's kind of fun if you're into that kind of stuff. I think that would be cool. It's got a bunch of the people from God of War, Black Panther, Luke Cage, Skyfall. So, oh no, at the end it says, don't be surprised if a superstar femme fatale from the Philippines and even a mighty master of Wu-Tang Mountain also shows up. So I don't know what that means, but maybe you do.
Well, we do know the RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan is here, and this panel was actually announced with the RZA panel, so maybe RZA shows up to this.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. All right, so let's talk about room flow in this room. I don't think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think that one will be popular. Robert Kirkman's going to be popular. Maybe Magnum PI. And I think definitely Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So James, what time would you suggest lining up for any of those?
Well, I think the room's going to start slow. I
agree.
The first two panels are necessarily going to fill the room.
I agree.
On their own, I think that people anticipating, actually the first three panels, the Turtles panel will start showing up early. So I think if you want to guarantee you're getting in the room for Turtles, you're probably going to want to get there during the first or second panel of the day. I don't think you need to get there before any of those start, but I think you just need to wander in sometime during the first or second panel, and I think you should be fine. But of course, if a lot of people are showing up enough, then yeah, you're going to need to pay attention to social media where people are getting into that line. Then the room will clear out and maybe switch over a lot for Magnum PI. I don't know if anyone's going to show up early for that because I don't think that it's really going to fill unless there's a lot of people going to see Jay Hernandez.
If he had a mustache, it would.
That's right. That's right.
Painful.
If you want to get into Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and you want to be, I mean, how much is it guaranteed to get in? Maybe show up and get in line because I think the room may be full during Kirkman. I think it may actually be filled up then. But if you get in line during the Kirkman panel, I think you should be able to get in when that room empties for leaving for Kirkman. And then I think that's basically how the room's going to go. But it's kind of hard to tell because of there's only one or two panels separating the two biggest panels.
I know. So we'll see how that turns out. But I was corrected by several people in the chat. It's not RZA, it's the Riza, apparently. Wu-Tang Clan is not my scene, all right? That's what I'm going to say. All right. So, James, you want to lead us through 6 BCF?
Yes, I will. I was reading the chat, sorry. All right, so 6 BCF. This is our 2160 seat room, so it's over 2,000. So this one has a decent amount of room for these panels. The first one is Blade Runner Revelations, Storytelling in VR from 10:30 to 11:30. And it's a new VR experience, and a bunch of the creators of that product will be there to talk about it. At 11:45 to 12:45, we have Celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. This is probably, at this point, without knowing Saturday and Sunday, my #1 panel, so I will be here. It's executive producer Dave Filoni and panelists talking about 10 years, the show that came out 10 years ago. We already know that Ashley Eckstein is in town, and she already basically tweeted out that she's going to be here, and so did Matt Lanter. So now we just have to see if any of the other voice cast is going to show up, because they did have a pretty extensive voice cast, and some of them are going to be in town. I think we may, unless something gets announced on Saturday or Sunday, this may also turn into kind of a preview of Star Wars Resistance if they want to talk about that a little bit, if there's no other panel. But we'll just have to wait and see. At 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., we have Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Zombies. And this is the basically the team that creates that, talking about Black Ops 4 and celebrating the 10-year anniversary of that. There will be special announcements and a Q&A. At 2:15 to 3:15, we have Spyro Reigniting a Legend. And this is about the Spyro Reignited trilogy that is coming out, or did come out in 2018. I can't remember if it's out yet or not, since I'm not into the games as much. But they basically remastered it, and it's key members from Insomniac Games talking about developing it and coming out with it again. And it includes Tom Kenny, the voice of Spyro.
People, I just want to say this. People were really freaking excited about this panel on Twitter. So I feel like this panel might be more popular than what you or I would necessarily give it credit for.
Well, I do remember Spyro is pretty popular.
Yes.
I mean, it's been around for a long time. So
yes.
Yes, I do know who Spyro is, at least. I have played the game. 3:30 to 4:30, we have Mega Man 30th anniversary, and I obviously know who Mega Man is. I think almost everybody's played Mega Man. But this is basically your Mega Man panel, and it's basically going to be trivia, prizes, and more, talking about all the Mega Man stuff. 4:45 to 5:45, we have crafting story for video games. Veterans from a bunch of different companies, including Telltale, Riot, Xbox, will share tips and techniques about making successful game narrative. 6 to 7 p.m., we have Infectiously Expanding the Universe of Tom Clancy's The Division 2. And it's members of that team talking about bringing that world into a game. And then from 7:15 to 8:45, Screen Junkies, The Truth Behind Honest Trailers, plus movie fights. And it's basically the Screen Junkies team holding their panel, showing off a premiere of a trailer exclusively for Comic-Con. And then they will do a movie fights where your votes decide the winner. And that is it for the room for the day.
So the tricky thing with this room is starting at 1 p.m., it's all video games all the time. So I don't know until Screen Junkies, I guess. But I don't think there's going to be a ton of turnover, but I also don't think it'll be full for any of these.
The Clone
except
Wars,
for Clone Wars, yes.
Yeah, that's going to be the big panel of the day. And that one, I mean, I'm going to get there early just because I want to be up front because we got, we're going to be photos, but I'm a front of the room type of person. So I don't think you're going to have to wait for 5 hours to get into this, but I definitely think it's going to be popular. But with 2,000 seats, it's probably going to get either full or close to full. So I would definitely show up. Maybe even right before the first panel starts, if you haven't heard that the line is already getting really long. But I think it will fill up when the panel is ready to go.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then the rest of it, I mean, Spyro may get a little full, may even get full all the way, but I think that for the rest of the day, I think we're talking about probably in plenty of room, or at least enough room to where you can come and go as you see fit for that panel, and only need to show up 5 or 10 before a panel starts.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I sat in this room pretty much all day 2 years ago, I think, for Mr. Robot, and it was never full, and it was a lot of these same panels. So no need to worry too much about anything but Clone Wars. All right, on to Indigo, which holds 2,663. So we don't always talk about this just because I think we think everyone knows, but I actually got a question about it earlier. So let me just clarify. For anyone who doesn't know, Indigo is actually not inside the convention center. It is over at the Hilton Bayfront. It's not a very far walk, but it's basically when you go upstairs is really where the lobby is. And it's that ballroom right there, and the line goes out into the marina sometimes. But that's Indigo Ballroom. And it's going to start at 10 a.m. with the 6th annual musical Anatomy of a Superhero. And just like it says there in the title, they do this every year. And it's got some really cool composers, people who've done music on Deadpool 2, Logan, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Black Lightning. And it's basically just them talking about the music that they make. It's really fun. And then at 11 a.m., we have Behind the Scenes of Freeform Siren. And that's going to have quite a bit of the cast. And they are basically just going to tell you what to expect from season 2.
Moderator, though, is someone a little special.
Who's the moderator?
TLC
oh, yes. Yes, that's right. It's TLC's Chili. That is correct. I'd totally forgotten that. All right. And then at 12, we have YouTube Originals Impulse, which, as far as I am aware, at least, this is the first year that YouTube Originals has held panels at the convention. And they have 2 that are back-to-back here. But at 12, we have Impulse. And this is going to be, I think, a new show? No, I think this maybe has already been on. I'm not sure. But it's Impulse, and they are bringing along Missy Pyle and a couple of other people. And then at 1 p.m., we have the other YouTube original series, Origin. And this one is really exciting because they are bringing Tom Felton, as well as Natalia Tina from Game of Thrones, and some other folks, director Paul W.S. Anderson, and they're going to give you a look at that. So if you want to see some cool actors in a smaller room, this is definitely a cool place to see it. And then at 2 p.m., we have the always amazing. Anything Goes with John Barrowman, and it's literally him just doing whatever he wants, answering whatever questions you have.
Going with anything.
Yes, it's right there in the title, and it's so much fun. If you've never been to one of these and you find yourself with a hole in your schedule, definitely check this out. At 3 p.m., we have a look at the brand new sci-fi series Night Flyers, which is based on the George R. R. Martin story. And they're going to have, I think they're showing most of it. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. Yeah, just an exclusive look into the new series, and then they're going to have a whole bunch of the cast, which is weirdly not listed here. But I know that they announced it, so you can go check our post. At 4, they've got Van Helsing, and they're going to bring the stars Kelly Overton, Jonathan Scarf, Missy Peregrine, a whole bunch of other people, and they'll give you a look at that. And then at 5 p.m., we've got Z Nation, where you're going to get a look at what's in store for the 5th season with cast members DJ Quayles, Kalita Smith, Russell Hodgkinson, Carl Schaefer, and surprise panelists. And then at 6, we have a Netflix panel that no one guessed was coming with Black Summer, which is, it's actually apparently a spinoff to Sci-Fi Z Nation, which I had no idea this existed. But
that it's a Netflix show of a spinoff from a sci-fi show.
Right? That was exactly my reaction when I saw this was coming. I was very curious about that. But then at 7 p.m., we have the panel that I think everyone on this video podcast might be the most excited about. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Nine-Nine. So they haven't announced cast for that yet. Melissa Fumero did announce today that she's coming. I would very much guess that NBC is probably bringing most, if not all, of the cast. Like, there's just no real reason not to. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it right, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. But I'm so excited for that, and I'm so sad. I don't think I can make it to that from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Right?
Right?
Know, me too.
It's brutal this year with the schedule.
Oh my God.
Just all of the things at the same time, or at a time when you already have something scheduled, like an offsite or something. It's crazy this year how that's happening.
It is crazy. All right, so let's talk about room flow. So the nice thing about Indigo is it holds a decent amount of people, and because it's not directly there with the convention center, a lot of times I find that these panels are not quite as crowded as I think they would be across the street. I don't think you're going to have too much trouble getting into anything until, honestly, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And even then, like, I'm not totally sure. There are so many people who are so excited about this, but again, I think it being so late at like 7 p.m. is going to deter a lot of people. But if I were you, if I like absolutely wanted to make sure I made it into this, I would probably show up like 2 hours early. Like, if I just absolutely wanted. I think you'd probably be fine with like an hour early. But if you're worried, I would show up 2 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
still sad that is at the time of that.
I know. Well, there's like 3 things I want to see on Thursday, and they're all literally at the same time. All right. Ballroom 20, which holds significantly more at 4,800 people. It's going to start at 10 a.m. with From the Bridge, which is basically a new documentary that looks at the evolution of fandom, more or less. And they are bringing Nichelle Nichols, Rod Roddenberry. They're going to have Greg Grunberg. They're going to have a video cast from George Takei. It sounds like some kind of video message from him. That should be fun. From 11:15 to 12:15, we have a Charmed exclusive screening and panel. This says screening, but the panel is only an hour. So I have doubts that you'll see the whole episode, but maybe. I mean, maybe you're only getting like...
I think they're using screening in the title, but you have to read the description to see what exactly form it's taking.
Yeah.
In this case, I think it's just going to be a sneak peek. It says sneak peek at the first episode, but again, your mileage may vary on how much of a sneak peek that includes, whether they show like the first segment, the first half hour, who knows?
I agree. I completely agree. And then at 12:15, we've got Tell Me a Story, which is the new show coming from Kevin Williamson. And it's basically like twisted fairy tales, but modern day. But the cool thing about this is that they're bringing two of the stars, Paul Wesley and James Wolk. So if you are a fan of either of them, this is a great place to see them.
Only half an hour ago. It's weird.
I know. It's not very long. And then at 1 p.m., we have a Discovery of Witches, which is the Sky Channel show that, as of right now, actually doesn't have an American distributor, I believe. So no one's quite sure when we'll see this. But you can go learn some more about it in Ballroom 20. And they've got a really good cast here. They've got Teresa Palmer, Matthew Good, Alex Kingston, who used to be on Doctor Who, Owen Teale, the author Deborah Harkness. This should be really fun, again, especially if you're fans of any of those people. That's really cool. From 2:15 to 3:15, we've got Bobcat Goldthwait's Misfits and Monsters, which is his new True TV show. And I think it's basically just going to be him and some comedians just talking. More or less. They're going to show you a sneak peek of the show as well, though. And then from 3:30 to 4:30, you've got Pokemon Go, which is a little bit of a downgrade from the year it was in Hall H. But Ballroom 20 is still a good room. And then from 4:45 to 5:45, we have the return of James and I's favorite panel from 2017 with The Great Debate. And the description didn't list the panelists, but we actually know them. And it's going to be John Barrowman, Felicia Day, Orlando Jones, Joe Manganiello, Adam Savage, and Janet Varney. And it's going to be moderated by Aisha Tyler. And this is a hoot. If you have any time in your schedule, you should go to this.
Absolutely.
Because it was just, I have not smiled that much at a panel in a very long time.
And they do get the audience involved in the voting of each argument, so it's not like you're just sitting there watching people argue. You get to cheer it along and yell and scream, and it's basically just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and last year they gave us like little panels that on one side said like yay or nay, and you could like hold them up to show like I agree, I don't. It was just fun.
And those are awesome fans. Yes,
yes they are. Yes, they are. And then finally at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. we have Netflix with Marvel's Iron Fist. They will also have some surprise panelists, and we're all pretty sure that that's at least some kind of a look at Daredevil. The Daredevil showrunner already said he's going to the convention. So if you are like many people and going, I don't want to go to Iron Fist, there will be surprises. So, or if you like Iron Fist, go to this.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So let's talk about the room here. I don't know that I feel like any of this, except maybe Iron Fist is going to be, and I don't even know if Iron Fist is going to be completely full.
If the blog has any power whatsoever, how much we're talking about the Great Debate may get that close to full. But you
guys should really go to this. Like, yeah. Let's pack it. It's a good time.
But also, even the what is considered the not as high quality show of the Marvel shows, Marvel still draws. So I have a feeling that Iron Fist will be fairly popular and crowded. So you know what? Get to the room before Great Debate and enjoy yourself for an hour while you're waiting for Iron Fist if you want to see Iron Fist, and you'll basically have the best sit-through panel you've ever had.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, even if you sit through Pokemon Go, you can sit there on your phone and like catch Pokemon. Like, come on. It's not that bad of a way to spend an hour. All right.
So yeah, that one, I mean, it looks like an easy day in Ballroom 20. Not so easy a day in Hall H, which is what's next. And that room, of course, seats 6,500, and it's going to need all of that space because there are some good panels. We have, starting the day at 10:30 a.m., they're kicking it off with 20th Century Fox Predator. This includes Shane Black and cast members Olivia Munn, Sterling K. Brown, Keegan-Michael Key, Trevante Rhodes, Jake Busey, Yvonne Strahovski, Thomas Jane, and Augusto Aguilera. Basically, like the entire cast, it seems. They have said that they're only going to be talking about Predator, but there are rumors, of course, that they will be maybe showing a little bit of something else here and there during the panel. But right now, that's all we know is that Predator is going to be there.
But that's a really great cast.
It is. It's a lot of cool people. I mean, you have a lot of people who have done other things genre-wise that people really love. So if you're a fan of any one of them, obviously this is going to be a panel you're going to want to go to. And then moving from its typical Sunday, except for one time when it was also on Thursday, we have 11:45 a.m. Doctor Who with the all-new Doctor, played by Jodie Whittaker, and we'll be joined by co-stars Tosin Cole, Mandip Gill, and the showrunner Chris Chibnall, and executive producer Matt Stevens. This is basically the first appearance of this Doctor on, I think, almost anywhere at like a convention, correct? I don't think she's gone anywhere else.
I don't think she's gone anywhere.
This is pretty cool, and I expect this one is going to be rather popular.
You can look right now at like the popular panels on Sched. Isn't this one number one?
It's number one. At least it was earlier today.
It's still number one.
So then at 1 p.m., we have Marvel Games, and this is basically all of the different Marvel Games producers coming together to have a panel to talk about all the different games, like Insomniac Games, Marvel Spider-Man, someone from, let's see, who else we have here, from Marvel Powers United VR, Marvel Battle Lines. There's going to be unannounced surprises, panel exclusives. We'll have to wait and see what kind of things that means. And then at 2:15 to 3:15, we have Dragon Ball Super, which features the English voice actors, Sean Schemmel and Christopher Sabat. And they're basically going to be talking about all things Dragon Ball and reveal never-before-seen material for the new movie. There may be some, well, they say don't miss some special surprise appearances too, so who knows who that could be. And then making their first appearance at Comic-Con at 3:30 is AMC's Better Call Saul. It will be cast members Bob Odenkirk, Rhea Seehorn, Patrick Fabian, Michael Mando, and Giancarlo Esposito, along with producers Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. And immediately following that, at 4:30, will be the Breaking Bad 10th anniversary celebration with all of the cast members, basically. Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, Anna Gunn, Dean Norris, Betsy Brandt, RJ Mitt, Bob Odenkirk, and Giancarlo Esposito again, along with Vince Gilligan. And that's basically just going to be a celebration of the show for an hour. At 5:45 to 6:45, we have the Assassination panel with cast members and the Russo brothers, who you may recognize from a little movie called Avengers Infinity War. So they're going to be they're producers of it. They're not directing it, but the director will be there, Sam Levinson, and the stars Bill Skarsgård, Suki Waterhouse, Harry Neff, and Abra. And they will be basically showing off this movie coming out later this year, I think it is.
Yep, I think you're right. Real quick before we get into room flow, I wanted to address a couple quick questions in the chat. So we've had a bunch of people asking us about wristbands. So what we know is that the toucan trackers, which is what they call the wristbands, they are back this year, but we have no idea how they're going to work this year. They are supposed to be announcing that on this upcoming Monday. So we'll find out more information then. And then the other question we had was we've had a couple people asking about when the app is going to be updated, and that's never updated until we get the full schedule. So let's talk about room flow.
It's going to be a pain in the butt.
I don't know. I think it's going to be less awful than you do.
But I think it's going to start out awful because you're going to have all of the Fox fans, Predator, and the Doctor Who fans all jockeying for position. So getting in the room may not be as hard as it sounds, but for a lot of those people who want to get closer, it's going to be a pain in the butt. But just getting in the room, do you think it's going to be an overnight wait?
I don't. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to hear me say that, but Doctor Who is not normally an overnight wait. And I think Fox, since they're only bringing the Predator, and that's basically the only movie panel in there until 5:45, I just don't think it's going to be an overnight wait. Now, I think it might be like a 2 or 3 hour wait, but I don't think it's going to be an overnight wait.
So basically, if you show up at, let's say, 6 or 7 a.m., you're pretty much guaranteed to get in.
I really and truly think so, and I might be totally wrong, but I say this every time, but I absolutely have a vivid memory of walking past Hall H when Fox was there, and they were the last panel of the day at the time, but like the security guards were just like, it's wide open, just come on in.
Remember a couple of years ago when big movies like Hunger Games were in there.
Yep.
And when other panels around them weren't as huge, the room did not really fill up until just before the panel.
Yep.
So the only problem, of course, is that we have 2 pretty big panels right in a row.
We do, yes. But I really and truly, I just think, like, I don't think you're going to have to wait more than 2 or 3 hours to get into these. That is my professional opinion. But I might be totally wrong. The ones that I am actually really curious about are less so Better Call Saul, but more so Breaking Bad. To me, that has huge potential as well. And I feel like Breaking Bad might not be a walk-in. I feel like for that, you're probably going to have to maybe line up like 2 or 3 hours early for that as well. But again, I don't know. This is just such a weird schedule in general this year.
I have a feeling that since Dragon Ball Super is right before the Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad set, that room, that the Dragon Ball fans, there's going to be a significant number of them who will clear out. I don't think that there's probably some crossover, but I don't think there's enough to keep the room as full as it is for Dragon Ball, however full it may be. So if you get to Hall H either right before or during Dragon Ball Super, I think you're going to be okay for Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, a couple hours ahead. If you want to be in there for both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, get there during the Marvel Games panel and get in the room during Marvel Games, because I do not think the room will be full during Marvel Games, even with that coming up.
I agree. I don't think it will be either. And I'm not too worried either about Assassination Nation with the Russo brothers. Even though it's the Russo brothers, I just don't think that this film is like buzzy enough to get like 7,000 people wanting to get into the room.
Yeah. Do we think that anything on its own would actually fill Hall H if it was the only thing in the room that day?
I mean, I think Breaking Bad could. Maybe Doctor Who, maybe. But
because like Doctor Who has had something around it that has helped keep the room full, like Supernatural on Sundays. So yeah. It's always been tough to judge how many are there for Doctor Who, but I just know that there's going to be a lot of people for Doctor Who, since we haven't had it isn't necessarily there every year. So a lot of people going, okay, this is my chance. I got to go to a Doctor Who panel.
Yeah. So we'll see.
At the same time as the Clone Wars panel.
Oh, I know.
And so a lot of people who are fans of both are having to make a tough decision.
Oh, I know. Well, then there's me, who's like, I want to go to Breaking Bad, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but they're all at the same time.
Womp
womp. All right. Let's talk about our Dark Horse panels. Sarah, do you want to tell us yours first?
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to pick this one, so I hope none of you are. But
that's why I'm telling you to go first.
I actually just started watching this show yesterday and watched all of it. Was The Toys That Made Us show on Netflix. It's like a mini documentary on, toys like the Star Wars toys, Star Trek, Hello Kitty, Lego, all of that. And it's really fascinating. And they're going to have a panel with the creators of the show and the producers. And I think that might be really fun. It's a great show.
I think so too. I like it too, actually. And the creator did a podcast, and he said he was going to announce the toys that they're going to feature in the 3rd season at the panel. So there's going to be some cool news there too.
Cool. Yeah, and that is Thursday at 1 in what room? 5 AB.
Perfect. James, do you want to go?
No, you go first, because I think you might pick one that I would probably pick, and I don't want to take yours.
Okay. I've got a couple, but I'm going to actually go with Snoopy. So I think this is cool, but let's see here, 28DE, which how many people does this room even hold?
Not a lot.
297. But 28DE at 3 p.m., they are having Snoopy Space Traveler, the history and future of Snoopy and NASA. And it's basically just a look at the 50 years that Snoopy has been partnering with NASA. And I think that would be super interesting. They're going to have people from NASA. They're going to have people from like the Charles M. Schultz Museum and Studio, and it's moderated actually by TV Guide's Damian Holbrook. I just think that's going to be a whole lot of fun.
So for mine, I would have basically picked both of those, so it's kind of tough to find one. But let's see. I had like about 15 choices here, so I can just go through all of them, but I'm not going to. I am going to pick 30 Years of Studio ADI. This is going to discuss the past, present, and future of Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr.'s Academy Award-winning practical effects studio, and get an exclusive sneak peek at Studio ADI's upcoming feature film, Wellwood. They'll be joined by producer stars Keisha Castle-Hughes from Game of Thrones and Walking Dead, Camille Balsamo, and Reed Collins, who's also the screenwriter, as well as the director, Eliza Hooper. And this is happening in 24 ABC, which I'm sure is another one of those 300-seat rooms. And I just think it's pretty cool that you can get random movies with actual people you may be interested in from other shows showing up in these little rooms where it's much more personal and you can see something that you may not know about or have seen before. So check that out. And there's just check out the schedule. Check out those small rooms. There is some awesome stuff happening on Thursday all over the schedule.
Honestly, for me at least, Thursday's schedule is way more awesome than Fridays.
Yeah, it seems like it is, and I think that is also because we're also having so many conflicts. So it just feels like it's like a struggle to get to stuff. It's like all these awesome things, but some of the things I wanted to mention were the drawing and the how-tos that are happening throughout the day, which they happen also all weekend long. But there's one with Art Germ Lau, there's one with Jim Lee. Brian Haberlin is I think he's doing panels all weekend long, and it's basically him doing like someone would do in a class, teaching you how to use like Photoshop and other things to create your comics or other forms of art. So, I mean, there's just so much stuff, so much.
There really is. And since you mentioned more than one, I'm going to mention real quick. There's also Behind the Music, which has a whole bunch of the TV composers. I think that sounds awesome. And then there's a Let's Get Real About Fantasy panel as well, which has the author of The Raven Cycle, which is a series. So I'm super excited about that. So shall we move on to Friday, or do we have any questions?
I don't see any questions.
Let's see here. I think we answered most of them already. All right, let's move on to Friday. The
handy dandy graphic that Beth made for it's SDC Schedule Friday. Woo! For those watching live. Yes, it's very fancy here.
It is very fancy. We're so professional. All right, let's start with 7AB. And James, I think you're going to kick us off.
I am, and I'm ready. See, that's how I waste time, by saying I'm ready.
Oh, real quick, Iron Souls in the chat said Marvel Studios, the first 10 years of visual development panel is my Thursday Dark Horse. That panel looks neat. It does look neat. All right, you can continue.
And I want to mention that actually real quick. The way it's phrased, Marvel Studios, the first 10 years of visual development, makes it sound like there's going to be other first 10 years of panels. So we'll see if that happens, but who knows?
I mean, yeah, like when you suggested this in our internal chat, you were like, there could be like a Marvel 10 years with directors. I mean, we have the Russo brothers and Joss Whedon both all in town.
And James Gunn did say that he isn't sure if he's going yet, and he'll let everybody know. So he may show up.
Wouldn't that be fun? That would be fun.
The music of the Marvel 10 years. I mean, all kinds of things that they can do. But
absolutely.
On Friday, 7AB, again, seats 480. And this is basically, if you like Star Wars, camp in 7AB all day because it's Star Wars all day. Starting off at 11 a.m. with Star Wars Collectibles, and it features Lucasfilm's Brian Merton talking about all of the different licensors who create stuff like Anavos, Bandai, EFX, Gentle Giant, Kodabukaya, Sideshow, and a surprise panelist. There will be some cool raffle prizes also. At noon, we have Behind the Design, Star Wars fashion collaborations, and it's all about the different fashion that has come out because of Star Wars over the years. We have Hasbro Star Wars at 1 p.m., and it's obviously about all of the Hasbro toys, what is coming from them, including maybe a few surprises. At 2 p.m., we have Disney Lucasfilm Publishing, Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Michael Siglin from Disney Lucasfilm Publishing and other panelists will share what's coming out in the world of books. At 3 o'clock, the first of the judicial side of the Star Wars universe, we have Judges on the Law of The Last Jedi and Solo. And this is basically, don't go here if you have any outstanding traffic tickets, because it's basically full of lawyers and judges. I mean, there's let's see, a judge from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a magistrate judge, a couple of those, a New York judge, and a former magistrate judge, now Deputy General Counsel and VP of Litigation at Facebook, moderated by a couple of attorneys. So they're basically going to be talking about whether or not, you know, things like, did Han Solo have, was he right to shoot first? And things like that. It sounds fairly interesting, and hopefully no one gets arrested or in trouble at the panel. At 4 o'clock, we have the Science of Star Wars, and it's a bunch of people from NASA and other areas to talk about what the science of Star Wars, if it could be actually real, like could lightsabers be real? Which Star Wars droid would NASA take into space? So this one looks pretty cool, and this one will have giveaways as well. At 5 o'clock, we have the Women of Star Wars, and it features author E.K. Johnston and Zoraida Cordova, along with other panelists. And then we have at 6, Star Wars Fans in America's Finest City, and this is basically members of all of the fan groups like the 501st, Rebel Legion, Mandalorian Mercs, and the Droid Builders discuss basically being fans and what they do in San Diego and across Southern California with volunteering and things like that. And at 7 o'clock, we have Star Wars Tourism, Visiting the Galaxy Far, Far Away. And this is basically talking about visiting places on our planet that have stood in for Star Wars locations. It's going to be James Floyd, Ash Crossan, and Charlotte Teeter Stewart. And they will basically help you learn where to go, how to get there, and how to make the most of it. And then finally, I think, no, maybe not. Nope, not finally. At 8 o'clock, we have the Star Wars mock trial, the Court Martial of Poe Dameron. The Legal Geeks and the Rebel Legion Sunrider base present a mock court martial of everyone's favorite X-Wing ace. And this one looks like it's going to be great because they have actual U.S. Army JAG attorney and a United States magistrate basically arguing about whether or not Poe Dameron should be locked up. And then at 9 o'clock, we have the Star Wars Trivia Game panel. Members of the San Diego Star Wars Society will host a trivia panel like they have since 2002. And you better be prepared because there's probably going to be some pretty hard questions. You can win prizes if you answer correctly. That is a lot of Star Wars in one day.
It's all Star Wars all the time. Basically, yeah.
And I don't think any of them are really going to fill the room, but there is only 500 seats, just under 500, and it is Star Wars, so it's gonna be fairly full for all the Star Wars fans, but I think it will come and go as people have certain areas of interest throughout the day.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually. Yeah, I just don't know that like the Disney Lucasfilm Publishing fans are going to be the same people who want to sit and listen to the lawyer stuff. But it'll be a great day. It always is. They do this every year where it's
just a lot of Star Wars all day long. And I think Carrie froze. But it doesn't matter because coming up next, we have the Horton Grand Theatre, which Sarah's going to tell us about.
Yep. All right. So at 12, from 12 to 2, we have Teen Titans Go to the movies. This, I'm guessing it's the screening of the whole thing. And immediately following, they have fun snacks, and you can get your photo taken with the Teen Titan character. And families are welcomed. So, and then right after, from 2 to 4, they have just the same thing again. And from 5 to 6:30, IDW Entertainment and Sci-Fi premieres a screening of Wynonna Earp. So I'm guessing it's their new season premiere, probably. And it's going to have a bunch of cast members there. So I'm going to do the screening, probably a Q&A after, maybe. And from 7 to 10, we have Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas 25th anniversary screening. Celebrate the 25th anniversary of Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. So we all know what that is. That's going to be fun. That's going to be great. Yep. And they're going to do Hot Topic as their with a special guest host, and we'll give attendees a fun experience with film trivia, prizes, and a mini art exhibit at the screening.
So it's nice that they're doing Teen Titans Go twice, because there probably will be a little bit of demand to see the movie in advance, or essentially for free, as well as being able to get pictures with Teen Titans characters. But the big
they'll have concessions.
And concessions. The big one of the day, though, is of course going to be the Wynonna Earp screening. That is going to be an incredibly hard to get ticket, because the theater only seats 240, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be more than 240 Wynonna Earp fans at Comic-Con this year.
Absolutely.
Now, are these all the same as before, where you have to go to sales and get a ticket? I've never gone to a screening there.
Yeah,
okay.
That's in the past. That's how it's always worked, and I'm pretty sure again that's how it's going to work again, because they already announced for Scare Diego, which is at the Horton, that's how it's going to work again. So I'm guessing these will as well.
Do you think they'll do the online lottery for this?
It doesn't sound like it, because like I said, they already said for Scare Diego, like, you have to go to sales starting at 2 p.m. to draw a ticket. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So and the way it happens is usually it's just first thing in the morning for anything throughout that day. You grab the ticket, you get a wristband, right?
I think so.
And then you just have to show up 15 minutes before the panel is supposed to start.
Yeah.
Because they will start letting other people in, I assume, if the room is not full. But they will let anyone in who has a ticket / wristband first. But you have to be there 15 minutes before it starts. Yeah.
And someone confirmed in the chat that yes, there is a standby line. And just to correct one thing, Mark Riviera said 2 p.m. It's 2 p.m. on Wednesday. I don't know for sure what time yet it will be the rest of the week. It's 2 p.m. on Wednesday, because the first panel is not till 9:30 at night. Yeah. So
noon, so it'll be earlier in the day, of course.
Yes, it will.
And do we think that Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas screening will be well attended, knowing now that Henry Selick will be in town, right?
Yeah, he will be in town. So I very much think he's going to be the special guest that they mentioned in the chat, which is cool. Like, how awesome is it to get to see that with the director?
We don't know, but we're assuming he's probably going to be the special host.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think this will probably sell out. It's not going to be as popular as the others. I can guarantee you that. But I think this will be like fairly popular.
So I have a quick question, because it says families welcome. So can you, when you go get your ticket in sales, can you get more than one ticket?
You get, for each ticket, you get a +1. But like, if you go with 2 people, I'm sure you could get, then you get 4 tickets.
Okay. Thanks.
So.
Makes sense.
It does. All right. On to room 60E, which again seats 884. It's going to start off at 10 a.m. with Young Justice Outsiders, which is from Warner Brothers Animation. And then isn't that on the new streaming platform, DC Universe?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So that is for everyone who asked, is DC Universe at Comic-Con this year? Yes, they are, and that's your one panel. At 11:15 to 12:15 is DC Nation Rejoice, which is basically where DC publisher Dan Dido talks with a whole bunch of awesome talent like Tom King, Jimmy Palmiotti. I'm going to butcher all of these names, but that's okay. But it'll be basically just a look at some upcoming DC stories. And then from 12:30 to 1:30, we have DC Superhero Girls, which is the animated series. And they will have, I believe, some of the voice cast. They always do. Yeah. So some of the voice cast, they'll show you a look at an episode. It's always pretty fun. And then from 1:45 to 2:45 is DC from Page to Screen, which is basically where they look at DC across all different platforms. So movies, TV, games, home entertainment. They'll look at how they translate from the comics into those platforms. And then from 3 to 4 is another DC panel with DC Batman Family. And they will look at exactly what it sounds like, different folks within the Batman family. And then from 4:15 to 5:15 is a look at DC Justice League. And you can meet some of the talented minds behind DC's new Justice movement as they share their inspirations behind their favorite DC superheroes. It's going to have Scott Snyder, Adam Glass, Joshua Williamson, a whole bunch of folks. And then from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., we get Sci-Fi Wire's Fangirls, Women Changing the Game. And this is a look at just different women within fandom, basically, and the media. And they've got some really good panelists this year. Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Amanda Connor, Lights, Nichelle Nichols. Like, that's pretty awesome cast.
Yeah, it's a really good panel.
Yeah, it should be. And then from 6:45 to 7:45 is Catching Up with Adam Savage, which is basically Adam Savage just talking about what Adam Savage is up to.
And apparently also talking about a short film that he did with Peter Jackson.
Yeah, which is really cool. And then from 8 to 9 is Bat in the Sun Presents, which is the cast and crew of Bat in the Sun. They will preview part of their newest animated superpower beatdown along with a surprise video that they have been working on. And then finally, from 9:15 to 10:45 in that room, we have the annual Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog. And because we know that a whole bunch of the original cast is going to be over in Hall H that morning, I would say that there's a possibility you could get a surprise appearance or two.
I would hope so.
I would hope so as well.
Them California Browncoats may be able to have a little bit of pull still to get some of the cast members to show up, or creator. Well, it's mainly creators, but they should have a little bit of pull.
I mean, there are some cast members there. Nathan Fillion and Felicia Day are both in town. So you got 2 out of the 3. Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
All right. It will be awesome. All right. So let's talk about the turnover here. I don't think any of these are going to be super hard to get into.
Probably not. I guess it may depend on how many people, families are there who want to check out the DC Superhero Girls. But I mean, it's still almost a 1,000-seat room. So yeah. I think you'll be fine. It may get a little full because DC does have a lot of fans for the comics, and that's a lot of what's going on in there that day.
Yeah.
And of course, for people who don't have a chance to see some of the people that are on the Sci-Fi Wire Fangirl panel, like Nichelle Nichols,
yep,
or Rachel Bloom, if people don't have a chance to see them at some other panels that are on the weekend, this may be your chance. And so Adam Savage is popular. I know he's always had a lot of, he's always filled rooms pretty easily.
Yeah, he has. I do want to say one note, though, about Sci-Fi Wire's Fangirls panel. Here's the good news. The official schedule does not list the panelists that I just named. So basically, unless you read our site or Sci-Fi Wire's site, you don't know who's going to be on there. That means that you will have less people fighting to get in there. So if you're a fan of those people, it's good news for you.
Dr. Horrible in years past has been very popular as well. I haven't been in a few years, so I don't know how much the room fills up, but I know that they never had a problem filling that room a few years ago, but we'll have to wait and see. Being at 9:15 at night, it may not be a problem.
We will find out in less than 2 weeks.
Of course, if it leaks that maybe someone will be showing up like Nathan Fillion, I pretty much guarantee that the room will fill up.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we're moving on to 6A, a 1,000-seat room. And it's starting off basically with the annual Hasbro My Little Pony panel at 10:30 a.m. And it features casting creatives behind My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls, like Tara Strong, Kathy Westlook, and Andrea Libman, and a super secret special panelist. If you are a fan of My Little Pony, this is probably something you've been to before. You know what it entails, and you're going to show up. 11:45 is Zag Heroes Miraculous, which is Jeremy Zag of Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. Will provide a sneak peek at upcoming seasons of Miraculous, and we'll be joined by Ezra Wise, who's the voice director and voice actors for the show, Christina V, Mela Lee, Bryce Pappenbrook, Max Middleman, and Keith Silverstein, who will do a script reading of one of the episodes, and there will be giveaways. And then at 1 p.m., we have Invader Zim Enter the Florpus, which wants you to strap on your tuna-filled jetpack. Ladder for imminent release. Okay.
I mean, all right then.
So original series creator, Yonan Vasquez, art director Jenny Goldberg, voice talents Richard Horowitz, Ricky Simons, Wally Wingert, and Kevin McDonald will be there to present behind-the-scenes art, brand new footage. It's going to be pretty awesome if you're an Invader Zim fan. At 2:15, we have Lego DC Supervillains Meet the Talent Behind the Video Game, which is basically one of the clearest descriptions of a panel you will ever see, because the talent behind the video game will be there of Lego DC Supervillains.
There you go.
There you go. DuckTales. This was a hit last year. This year, there is no David Tennant, unfortunately. But
another disembodied voice.
Yep. But everyone else will be there, apparently, including executive producer Matt Youngberg, editor Francisco Angones, art director Sean Jimenez, and stars Ben Schwartz, Bobby Moynihan, Danny Pudi, Tox Olengundoye, if I got that right, and Entertainment Weekly's Mark Sniker will discuss everything about season 2 and have some new footage. So check it out. And then the first ever D23 panel at Comic-Con at 4:45, which is celebrating 90 years of Mickey Mouse with D23, the official Disney fan club. This is really cool because they are bringing Brett Iwan, or Ewan, a voice actor, Becky Klein, director of the Walt Disney Archives, and Mark Henn, master Disney animator, to discuss Mickey Mouse throughout films, television shows, the Magic Kingdoms, and beyond. This is one I wish I could make if I had the time, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make this one.
It's really awesome. Like, I love, quite frankly, the D23 is holding panels here, especially since, you know, the narrative is always like, oh, D23 and Comic-Con, like, they're at odds. Like, this is awesome. So.
Yep. 6 o'clock, The Passage, based on the best-selling fantasy book by Justin Cronin. Fox's world premiere screening is going to happen. And joining the panel will be stars Mark Paul Gosselaar, Sanaya Sidney, Henry Ian Cusick, Jamie McShane, and the executive producers, along with the author. This will be premiering in 2019, so check it out.
But the panel's only an hour, and if they're showing the world premiere screening of it, I would assume the Q&A is going to be like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those, unfortunately, it seems. Those are basically, if you want to see the actors, this is probably not going to be the best panel for you. They're going to come out for roughly 10 to 15 minutes, and there probably will be minimal, if no, audience Q&A.
Yeah.
And then from 7:15 to 9:15, we have the Twilight Zone Marathon screening, hosted by CBS All Access, which is going to be getting the show soon. And they're basically just going to show some of the best episodes, and they will be having concessions and an exclusive giveaway item.
Yep. I like that they have concessions. I think that's cool.
Concessions are always good.
Right? All right. So let's talk about room flow in here. There's some good stuff in here this day, honestly.
Sure.
I think there's going to be a lot of turnover, which is good. I think that there's a lot of fans for Miraculous Ladybug. I think that they might actually fill that room up.
You know, My Little Pony will.
Yeah. My Little Pony will fill it up, and then they'll leave. Miraculous Ladybug will fill it up, and then they'll leave. I'm not sure about Invader Zim. It might.
It's pretty popular. It's got its fans, but I don't know if it's still got the draw that it used to. But I mean, having all of the original creators there may help.
I agree. And then Lego Games, that's huge. DuckTales, even without David Tennant, I think that's still huge.
Yeah, that's going to be a draw.
Yeah. And then 90 Years of Mickey Mouse, like, I'd call that pretty big.
I think so, but it's hard to tell because it's the first time, and I don't know. It's going to be a really hard one to judge.
I agree. And then I don't think The Passage will be that bad, and I definitely don't think the Twilight Zone marathon screenings will be that bad.
Right.
But like I said,
yeah, screening only things tend to never really fill up.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, the good news is that there's going to be a ton of turnover in here. So if all you want is to make it into the room, just show up like a panel or two early. And then it should just keep turning over.
Yeah. If you are super worried, get there 2 panels early.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, with the exception of, obviously My Little Pony, you just have to get there early enough to get in line, right? Just
right.
To be in there when the room opens, because most of the people that are getting there for a later panel likely won't get there 2 hours before it even opens. So you don't really have to worry about it if you want to get My Little Pony. But do everyone a favor, show up about an hour before your panel, because the room will turn over enough and everyone will be able to go and enjoy other things at the con instead of waiting all day for a panel that happens 5 hours after the room opens.
Yeah, I agree. All right, on to 6 BCF, which holds 2,160 people. At 10:15, we are going to start with DreamWorks Voltron Legendary Defender, and this is going to be packed. Yeah, it's just going to be packed. Rise Darby, Bex Taylor, Claus. It doesn't mention Jeremy Shada, but I know he's there for this. So there are other people beyond who are mentioned. And not only that, but you will get an exclusive poster by attending the panel. This one's going to be really crowded. And then at 11:30 to 12:30, you've got World of Capcom, which is basically just Capcom telling you about everything that they've got going on. From 12:45 to 1:45, it's a look at Resident Evil video games with, yeah, cosplay is encouraged, and a few other surprises you won't want to miss. From 2 to 3, there's building powerful characters featuring Street Fighter. So it's this room for the most part in the morning is actually all Capcom, but so, it's
Mike.
Yeah, but it's Capcom talking about Street Fighter then for an hour. And then from 3:15 to 4:15, this one's also, I think, going to be really packed, is behind the scenes of Overwatch's newest hero. Overwatch is obviously super popular. And they'll have the Overwatch developers, including like the lead writer, assistant art director, lead hero designer, and they're going to look at the creative process and more. And then from 4:30 to 5:30 is God of War reimagining franchises. And in this, you are going to get the God of War creative director, Corey Barlog, and he will be joined actually by Stephen DeKnight, who was the director of Pacific Rim Uprising. So that's cool.
Of the Daredevil, first season of Daredevil.
Yep. And then Jordan Vogt-Roberts, who is the director of Kong Skull Island.
And the upcoming Metal Gear Solid movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're pulling in 2 big-time directors for this God of War panel.
Yep. And God of War is super popular anyway, so I think this one's going to be pretty crowded. And then from 5:45 to 6:45 is Skybound Entertainment, What's Next? And Robert Kirkman will be on hand, basically, to talk about everything that's going on at Skybound. And then from 7 to 8, it's the very last Sharknado panel called The Last Sharknado, It's About Time. Like, I can't tell. Are they saying, like, it's about time that this franchise ended? Like, is that what the title means?
Or is the movie about time? Like,
Pretty sure it's the first one.
Is it time travel?
Maybe this is like secretly the like Timeless continuing on. Maybe Timeless is going to be worked into the last Sharknado. There we go. But you will get all the stars who have been in all of these movies, like Ian Ziering, Tara Reid. So if you love Sharknado, and I know there's a lot of you, this is a cool way to end your day.
Yeah.
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 That's what I got for you. All right. And then let's talk room flow. Okay. Again, Voltron, I think, is going to be super packed. And then I think it's going to empty out. I don't think any of the Capcom stuff is going to be real hard to get into. But then I think starting at probably like 2 p.m., it's going to start filling up for Overwatch. And then stay packed through God of War. And then I think there'll be some turnover for Skybound. And I think Skybound will be either full or mostly full. And then I have no idea on Sharknado. I've never been to any of this, so I'm not sure how crowded they actually are.
But that first panel, Voltron, they're giving away an exclusive poster in the panel. So all the Voltron fans are going to want to be there.
And it's again, it's like super popular. It was like one of the most popular panels of WonderCon this last year. So get there early.
Yeah, get there early. I mean, if the panel's at 10:15, I would say you need to get up. To get in the room, be there 2 hours early.
Yeah, I agree. Like be in line 2 hours early. Yeah.
So just be aware it's going to be a popular panel. Unfortunately, I mean, it's unfortunate because there are just so many people that probably should have been in Ballroom 20, but it's the way it goes.
Yep, I agree.
It was in too way small of a room at WonderCon too. I think it was like a room that they had to turn away like a couple of hundred people at least.
And I always want to make sure that we say this actually on these podcasts, because I think a lot of people don't know this, because a lot of people are like, oh, Comic-Con International is putting all of these huge panels in tiny little rooms. Don't they know any better? A lot of times the studios actually request the smaller rooms, because it is way better for the studios to have the narrative of like, there's a line out the door to get in than to put them in a way bigger room and have it not be completely full.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not even necessarily that they're like, oh goody, I get to make a story about how full the room was. It's just that they don't want to have the people on the panel sometimes be facing a room that isn't full, and so there's no energy there. So they're scared of a room not filling and not having the panelists be happy with what happened. So it's not necessarily just the greed part of it. It's also let's make sure the panelists are happy and comfortable doing the panel, and a full room does that.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I just think a lot of people don't necessarily know that like the studios a lot of times request smaller rooms. And so a lot of times when you're looking at this and you're like, why is this in such a small room? A lot of times that's why. So moving on.
Okay, Indigo. Again, 2600. We are starting off, and I think this is going to be Adult Swim Day and Cartoon Network Day. It's all cartoons all the time. 10 a.m. Adventure Time, the send-off, basically, of 10 seasons of Adventure Time with a live musical performance, some special panelists, exclusive series finale trailer. Basically, it's going to be a celebration. Jeremy Schott is going to be there. At 11:30, Adult Swim FLCL. Members from the original team will be joined by the new generation of creators. We have at 12:30 Dreamcore LLC, and again, creator and cast members, including John Grease, Nick Rutherford, Mark Proch, and Ahmad Barucha, invite you for a look at the new season. We have at 1:30 the Venture Brothers, which is celebrating its 7th season. We'll have people there, including James Urbaniak and Michael Sinterniklas, and they're basically just going to do the usual Q&A. And then at 2:30, we have Robot Chicken, celebrating its 9th season, including all of the usual suspects: Seth Green, Matthew Seinreich, Douglas Goldstein, Tom Root, Breckin Meyer, Tom Shepard. which this is really cool. Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend will be there. And maybe
I don't want people to know that.
What? What?
What?
Somebody. Oh, and a special possible chair for special panelists will be left open, probably just because they want to have an empty chair there. Who knows?
It
And
could really go either way. Yeah.
we have a final space Q&A with the casting creators. And then we have at 4:15 Bob's Burgers with Lauren Bouchard and a bunch of the cast members, including H. John Benjamin, Dan Mintz, Eugene Merman, John Roberts, Christine Shaw, Larry Murphy, and David Herman. They will be screening some never-before footage and a Q&A. And then at 5:15, Archer, discussion and Q&A. This is also going into its it's going into its 10th season. And they'll have all the cast members there: H. John Benjamin, Aisha Tyler, Jessica Walter, Chris Parnell, Amber Nash, Lucky Yates, and the executive producers, and Adam Reed and Matt Thompson. And then after that, it is not on the schedule last I checked, but the Eisners typically are in Indigo in the evening, which is why there is nothing after the Archer panel ends at 6:15.
I feel like it hasn't actually been on the schedule in recent years either, or like if it is, it's always added late. But yeah, it's there. It's just not there. Do you know what's also not on this day?
What?
Rick and Morty.
What?
What?
Why?
I don't know, but they have pretty much always been Friday in Indigo Ballroom. So
Maybe they upgraded and they're going to be in Ballroom 20 on Saturday. Or is there any room for them?
I think there's still some gaps, but we had a lot of people asking about that today, and I don't know if that means they're not going or if James said that they are being upgraded. We will have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's interesting because we do know the Rickmobile is coming to town.
Yep.
So you would assume that they're going to have a presence, but maybe that is their presence, is the Rickmobile.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about room flow.
Room flow. The room will flow. Just like
room will flow. It will flow. So Adventure Time is going to be packed to the gills. This is like the very last time you'll be seeing any of these people. And again, even though they don't mention cast, we know Jeremy Shot is going. I would very much assume everyone's going for this. I think that is going to be out the door, the line for that. And then I don't feel like the Adult Swim stuff after that is really going to be that crowded. Even Robot Chicken, like I've been to that a couple times. It's really not that hard to get into. I don't think Final Space is going to be that hard to get into, except for what's after it, which is Bob's Burgers. And Bob's Burgers always has a pretty long line. I feel like Bob's Burgers, you need to line up probably like 2 or 3 hours early, quite honestly.
Yeah, so get in and watch yourself some Robot Chicken in Final Space, and you'll be there for the Bob.
Yeah. All right. So somebody just asked me how early to show up for Adventure Time. I would probably be there like in line. The panel starts at 10. I would probably plan to be there by 8 in line.
Yeah, no later than 8. And I would say even just if you're worried, 7.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are much worse places to hang out than the Indigo Ballroom in the morning. Just so we're clear, you're sitting inside of a hotel instead of out on the street. They sell breakfast burritos. There are way worse places to hang out. Yeah.
And talking about the end of the day, someone Ben just asked a question in the group in the chat. Will there be a lot of turnover from Bob's to Archer?
I think so. I feel like Archer is not usually like super, super hard to get into. I would probably just make sure that you were there maybe like halfway through the Bob's Burgers panel.
Right.
That would be my suggestion. And as Iron Souls just pointed out, Indigo is also right by the Starbucks. So see, there are way worse places to hang out.
Except for when that line gets stupid long.
Out in the marina, yeah.
I think for Robot Chicken, was it? No, it was for Rick and Morty last year, right?
Yeah, Rick and Morty is always like ridiculous line, but it's not in here on Friday. So yay. I guess. All right, Sarah, you want to walk us through Ballroom 20?
Yep. So the day starts out at 10:15 with Inside the Big Bang Theory writer's room. And this one I've gone through a lot, and it's usually, there's some cast usually shows up, even though it doesn't say any, there are. Isn't that right? Don't they usually have people, or is that a different panel?
No, you're absolutely right. So they do this every year, and it's officially labeled every year the writer's room panel, but they always have like a surprise special guest or two. They just never announce them beforehand, but always like one or two of the actors shows up.
Yeah, and it says there's a special video presentation too, so there's that. And then we've got at 11:30, we have History's Vikings, which this is a room upgrade, isn't it, for them?
Yes, it is. They were in 6A or 6BCF, but they've never been in Ballroom 20.
Yeah, so that should be good, because I know it's always pretty crowded, I think.
Yes, it is.
And they've got a lot of the cast. And at 12:45, they've got the Hulu's world premiere screening of Castle Rock. It's J.J. Abrams and Stephen King's psychological horror series. So that should be good. It looks like it's got Sissy Spacek, Bill Skarsgård, Melanie Linsky, Jane Levy, and the producers. That should be
It's gonna be a good time, and it's cool too that like you get the world premiere screening of it.
Yeah, and so they've got a lot of time, so they might be able to do more of a Q&A.
Yeah, it won't be the little 10-minute one that the passage will be.
They've got a little bit more time than everybody else, so that's going to be good. And at 2:15 to 3:15, we have Entertainment Weekly's Brave Warriors panel. Includes Benedict Wong, Dylan Bruce, Santiago Cabrera, and mustacheless Jay Hernandez. And so that should be fun. I'm never going to get over that. I mean, why? That's like as iconic as the red car, right?
Yeah, really.
It's not like they're not in anymore. Come on. Whatever. Anyway,
so the moral of this story is during this panel, because Sarah and I will both be there, is when the blog starts tweeting about how he doesn't have a mustache, you know who's tweeting.
Yeah, I'm going to scream out on stage, "Where's your mustache?" I can't help it. Anyway, sorry. So at 3:30, we've got Amazon Prime Video Showcase, and they've got 6 creators bringing together to talk about all the upcoming original series. Got Carlton Cuse from Lost, Ben Edlund from The Tick, Sam Esmail from Mr. Robot, Neil Gaiman from American Gods. Is Neil Gaiman there? I thought I heard he wasn't coming, but that maybe
he said he wasn't, but then they announced that he was. So
okay. Well, hopefully he is then, because they've got him down. And we've got lore producer Gail Ann Hurd and Naren Shankar from The Expanse. So that's probably going to be a pretty good panel. They actually have 2 hours, so they're probably going to show some footage, I would think.
Amazon is essentially doing the WB thing, and they're just having this big block where they just show however much of each show they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like old school Showtime is what this reminds me of, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's going to be good. Do you think they're going to bring out is this the Jack Ryan panel? Or is there a separate one, do we think?
No, the only Amazon show that has its own separate panel is actually The Man in the High Castle, and it's not part of this at all.
Okay.
So yeah, anything they're going to show, which I would guess the majority of this will be dedicated to Jack Ryan, considering that's the offsite this year, it will be in this panel.
Yeah. And it doesn't say any surprise guests, so hopefully there are some actors, but you never know. All right, and then we have from 5:45, Marvel's Television's Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, which looks like it's bringing most of the cast, a lot of the cast. Olivia Holt, Aubrey Josephs, Emma Lahana, Ali Mackey, and the producer showrunner Joe Pulaski. Pulaski, yeah. So And then we have from 7 to 9, the world premiere of The Death of Superman. Now, this is animated, right?
Yes.
Like an animated series? Yeah. And so they're going to play it and then have a panel afterwards featuring Jerry O'Connell, Rebecca Romaine, Jason O'Mara, Christopher Gorham, and a lot of the producers and creators. I would think that would be a pretty good panel. I know Jerry O'Connell is kind of a hoot, so I'm sure the rest of them are going to be great too. And then they're also doing it right afterwards. They're going to screen it again at 9:30.
The only difference is that the second screening will just be the screening. It won't have the Q&A after it. So if you want to see the Q&A, you have to go to the first one.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk room flow. All right. What do you think, James?
This is a tough one, but I think Castle Rock is going to be one of the highlights of the day.
I think so too.
And I think that the Amazon set is going to also draw a lot of people because it is 2 hours of a wide variety of things. And people will be showing up for all the different things. Like there will be all the Mr. Robot fans, all the Tick fans, all of the Jack Ryan fans, if there are any yet. But basically, it's basically going to be the, what's his name? Who's Jack Ryan?
John Krasinski.
Yeah, it'll be all the John Krasinski fans.
I agree. Well, and I feel like too, people don't always read the panel descriptions that well. So I feel like they're going to be like, oh, it's the Amazon Prime Video Showcase. Look at all these shows, and not notice that like it doesn't list any actors. So I feel like a lot of people will show up just for that. Cloak and Dagger, just because it's Marvel, I think that's going to be fairly popular.
And it's also a good show.
So
it was really popular at WonderCon.
Yeah. So I think I would probably Vikings, honestly, because it's in such a big room. I don't feel like you have to worry about it nearly as much this year. Normally we would say like line up like 2 hours early. I don't think you necessarily need to do that this year. If worried, I would line up like an hour early. And then for Castle Rock, I would maybe try to be in there like for Vikings, or at least line up like right when Vikings is starting. Maybe even earlier than that, honestly.
Yeah, that Castle Rock is really like an unknown because it's brand new, but it's also got a lot of hype.
It does, yeah. So I don't know. So maybe show up like maybe if you want to see Castle Rock, maybe even just chill in there all day. Like I mean, there's some good stuff in there beforehand. It shouldn't be that bad. Then I think it's going to clear out a little bit. You've got Entertainment Weekly's Brave Warriors after that. I think that one won't be too bad of a wait. But if you would,
it'd be a fun panel, and they haven't announced everyone they're going to get. So maybe someone else they're going to get is going to bring in some more people. We don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And then for Amazon, I would probably plan to sit through Brave Warriors if you want to make sure you get in for that.
Get in line sometime near the end of Castle Rock, if there is a line. Otherwise, just show up during Brave Warriors, and you should be fine.
Yeah. And then what do you think for Cloak and Dagger? Because that Amazon panel is 2 whole hours long.
Oh, that's going to be a problem. I would play it by ear, stop by the line and look once Amazon lets in. If the Amazon is not full, then come back in an hour.
Yeah, I think that's...
It's full, get in line.
I think that's good. And then for the WB Home Animation, they do these screenings every year. I don't think it's ever too bad to get in, but it's a good time, so it's never a bad idea to show up like 30 minutes early.
And it's interesting because they list a bunch of the other cast members that are in the movie, the voice cast, and like at least 3 or 4 of them are at Comic-Con, but they're not listed as showing up to this panel. So who knows if they may get a few other extra people to show up, like Nathan Fillion or Matt Lanter. I think Nyambi Nyambi is going to be there. So, I mean, who knows? They may have more cast than that's shown.
This is like just such a weird year. It's really hard to predict with so many changes. And I saw somebody in our live chat actually say like 30 minutes ago, so nothing this year is going to be that hard to get into. Honestly, maybe not. I do think that some of the Saturday movie stuff is going to be a little bit harder. But
for Thursday and Friday?
I just don't think any of this stuff, like if all you care about is getting to the room, I honestly don't believe you have to camp out overnight for any of it. I just don't think there's anything that is that huge of a draw. But what that also means then is that the show floor is going to be terrible. Just hands down terrible. And everyone's going to blame it on the lotteries and those people not being in line for those drawings. But the real truth of the matter is with no Game of Thrones, there's just nothing really on Friday to pull those people away. But let's talk about Hall H on Friday. So again, Hall H is going to seat 6,500. We are going to start the day off with Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog reunion. And this has a really good panel list. It's going to be Joss Whedon with Jed Whedon, Nathan Fillion, Felicia Day, and how do I say her name, James?
Marissa Tancharoen.
Thank you. And basically, they're just going to be looking back at 10 years ago when they made Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. I don't think this is going to be packed.
Well, it will be because of what's coming after. Yes,
it will be because of what comes after. But the majority of people here will not be for Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. From 11:15 to 12:15, we have AMC's Fear the Walking Dead. And they are bringing Alicia Debnam, Carrie, Coleman Domingo, Lenny James, Danae Garcia, Jenna Elfman, Maggie Grace, and Garrett Dillahunt, as well as 6 executive producers, which might be a little bit of overkill. And then from 12:15 to 1:15, immediately after, we have The Walking Dead, and they're bringing Andrew Lincoln for what we can presume is going to be his last Hall H Walking Dead panel. Norman Reedus, Denai Guerrera, Melissa McBride, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, as well as some folks like Robert Kirkman. And Walking Dead's going to be pretty crowded, but is this the first year we've had The Walking Dead in Hall H without Game of Thrones on the same day?
I think so, because they've basically been together in a room since the first season of Game of Thrones.
That's what I think too. So I'm actually really curious to see how much of that line it was Game of Thrones and how much was The Walking Dead. I would put the majority to Game of Thrones, personally. I mean, I do think it's going to be crowded. I just don't know if it's going to be the level of crowded that it was. We will see. And then at 1:30, we've got Star Trek Discovery, and they're bringing quite a bit of the cast, like Anthony Rapp, Doug Jones, quite a few other folks. And then at 2:45 to 3:30, we've got the always popular Trailer Park, aka Here's Some Filler. And then from 3:45 to 4:45, you have Universal Pictures Glass and Halloween. And even though the schedule did not list cast, we pretty much know most of the cast. Conan already announced that for Glass, it looks like it's going to be Samuel L. Jackson, James McAvoy, Bruce Willis, Sarah Paulson, Anya Taylor-Joy, and writer/director M. Night Shyamalan. And then Jamie Lee Curtis confirmed she's going for Halloween. And that is an awesome lineup.
It really is. It's a great.
Yeah, I think that's honestly like the panel to beat this day, even with Sony coming up here in a little bit. Then from 5 to 6, we've got Bumblebee, which is Paramount Pictures, coming back to the convention for the first time since I think 2014, which is awesome. And that will be director Travis Knight with star Haley Steinfeld and cast. And then from 6:15 to 7:15, you've got Sony Pictures coming back for the first time since 2015 with Venom and then Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. There's no cast listed, but again, the fact that they're coming back for the first time in 3 years should probably tell you that if they're showing up, they plan to go big. Yeah. And then finally, from 7:30 to 8:30, you've got AMC's Preacher, which will have Dominic Cooper, Ruth Negga, and Joseph Gilgun, along with executive producer Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, and showrunner Sam Catlin for a mid-season 3 discussion about the story so far and what's to come. So yeah. So I think it's going to be pretty darn crowded through The Walking Dead. Then I think it will clear out a little. And I think if you want to make it in for the movie stuff, starting with Universal Pictures, I would probably plan to get into the room when they let you in for Star Trek Discovery at 1:30.
So you have to be in line during The Walking Dead at the latest. Right?
That would be my suggestion. I feel like that would be my suggestion. I don't want to stick to like you have to be in line during The Walking Dead to make it into this panel, but that would definitely be my suggestion. And then if I were a movie fan, I would probably just be staying in there because you've got 3 back-to-back panels with some pretty huge movies, some really good cast. Yeah, I just don't see there being a ton of turnover, even though Universal is really more geared towards like the horror fan than say like Sony's stuff is, but I just don't see there being a ton of turnover. And then AMC's Preacher, I think you can pretty much just walk in.
So what we're saying basically is that there should be a significant enough turnover from the TV stuff from Star Trek and earlier to the movie stuff later in the day, with the trailer park kind of being the buffer between them, that you should have to wait all day to get in for the movie stuff today.
Correct. I see a lot of people asking, like, even with trailer park, I just don't think like you can plan to show up an hour early and walk in, but maybe you can, like. But if you want to be absolutely safe, I would plan on showing up when Star Trek Discovery lets you in. That would be my suggestion. Yeah. What say you, James?
I think so. I think that if the problem is that they haven't announced any cast on the official schedule for Glass and Halloween and for the Sony panel, and the last time that they haven't really announced much, the room was not full.
It was different though then, because they didn't not announce cast. They didn't announce even what they were bringing.
Right. Okay.
It was just like Paramount. What the heck is Paramount bringing? We're not going to tell you until the morning of the panel.
And so I think that, yes, I think that the room is going to be, it's going to require a wait of hours to get in the morning because of Walking Dead.
I think so too.
And for all of the people, because you have to remember that there will be people who want to be in the front of the room for the movie stuff at the end of the day. You're going to have to contend with those few hundred people, first off, who will be there as well, plus the people who want to be there in the front of the room for the Walking Dead and Star Trek stuff. How many people are going to walk out after the Walking Dead, and then how many people are going to walk out after Star Trek Discovery is going to be the key. So...
Well, and I also think,
go ahead.
I guess, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the news at all recently, but with this looking like Andrew Lincoln's last year in there, I think a lot of the Walking Dead fans are going to make this a higher priority even than normal.
Right. But I think that if you have something you want to do in the first 3 or 4 hours of the convention, I think you're safe to do it and then get into the stuff in the evening, in the late afternoon. So if your main thing is you want to be there for the Venom panel, I think you're fine if you just show up. Probably, I would say either during The Walking Dead to be really safe, but probably during Discovery, you might be able to get in because the Glass and Halloween stuff, there will be a little bit of turnover there, and then the Bumblebee will go through, and then you have the Sony. So you're going to sit through a few panels, but I think you'll get in the room if you show up before Trailer Park.
Yeah, I think so too. But I would, So.
But I don't think any of this is going to require an overnight wait just to get in the room.
No, I don't either. I don't either.
And yes, people will sit through Trailer Park to make sure they're in for the movies. I mean, what they'll do is they'll just take that time to go get some food or something. So
yes. I mean, Trailer Park has been around for years. People have sat through it for years. They will again.
It's just such an interesting day because it's, all TV in the morning and then all movies in the afternoon. And I mean, while that does have some crossover, people will want to move around. So it just is a really weird year.
It's such a weird year. Like, nothing on this schedule makes a whole lot of sense to me, but that's okay. That's okay. All right. Do we want to talk about our Dark Horse panels?
Do we?
Sarah, you want to go first?
Nah. No, I'm just kidding. Well, my dark horse is Klingon Lifestyles, which is something I happened to see randomly, and I had no clue what it would be, and it was amazing. It's a live-action Star Trek fan-based play, and they have a sword battle, and it's amazing. It is at their 8:30 in room 5AB on Friday, and it's so weird and fun.
And she saw this panel like years ago, and every year she's like, "Oh my god, that was the greatest panel ever!" So truly, check it out if you can.
Someday I'll see it again.
That's right. All right, James, you want to go next?
Yes, I actually will, because I don't think you're going to pick the same one.
I don't think I am either.
All right, so I again, like I do every single year, I have multiple ones, but I'm only going to do one until Carrie does hers. So the first one I'm going to do is the Black panel. And this is going to have Isaiah Washington and George Clinton on this panel, along with a variety of other people, including Joe Illidge, Sean Martin Burrow, Bernard Chang, Jacques Sweeney, LaShonda Clinton, and Kevin Turner, and hosted by Michael Davis. So this is basically a discussion about the state of Black pop culture in the current media. I just thought it was really cool that George Clinton was going to be there. That's just like, George Clinton's going to be at Comic-Con. That is so random and cool.
That is random. It's totally random. My Dark Horse panel is actually Ray Harryhausen, The Return of the Special Effects Godfather, over in room 26AB at 4:30 p.m. First of all, I freaking love anything to do with Ray Harryhausen, so that's a no-brainer for me. But it's basically going to be filmmaker John Walsh and the Ray Harryhausen collections manager Connor Heaney talking about the Harryhausen Foundation's plans to bring his stop-motion creations back to life. You're going to get to see a rare short documentary, and there'll be a Q&A. That would be my choice.
So some of the other ones that I noticed would be this one. We retweeted someone who talked about it earlier today, and this is our favorite title with description panel that we have. And as soon as I find it, I'm going to talk about it. And it is the panel at 5:30 in room 5AB, and it is called "Are You Still a Fan?" And the panel description is TBA, which is like the most accurate panel and description ever.
I hope it stays that way. I hope that like is the official panel description.
And all it is just a bunch of people walking in and going like, "Nope," and walking out, or "Yes, I am," and then walking out. That'd be
just
awesome.
a shruggy.
Or a shruggy, yes. Hold up a shruggy sign. I'm done.
That's amazing. All right. Any other panels you want to mention? And then I've got a couple.
60 Years of Famous Monsters in 26AB, also at 5:30. Let me see. There was a couple others here that I wanted to mention. There is the Hollywood Illustrators panel at 2 p.m. in room 9. It includes a bunch of the people who basically do previs and storyboards for a lot of your favorite movies, like Justice League, Fantastic Four, Geostorm, come on, Hunger Games, Beauty and the Beast and such, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, just all kinds of stuff. And if you're interested in the behind-the-scenes aspect of filmmaking, this is one of the panels for you. There's also a panel about Marvel Black Panther. The costume designer Ruth Carter will be there, talking about designing the costumes of Wakanda, along with a bunch of the people who helped create all of the look of Black Panther, basically. So if you're interested in a Marvel panel for one of the Marvel movies, here's one for you. And I think that's about it of them. There's again, as we mentioned, there's a bunch of little panels in little rooms with just some interesting topics and a bunch of random stuff you would never expect to see.
Absolutely. Like one of the other ones I wanted to mention is if you're a fan of Marvel's Black Panther, there's actually a really cool panel with like a whole bunch of the folks who did the costumes on it over in room 9 at 12 p.m. So that's pretty cool.
That's the one I mentioned.
Oh, well.
I just didn't give the room number. Sorry.
That's okay. All right. So do we have any questions?
I don't know, but we're talking about the fact that the way that the schedule is structured this year is very weird and will cause problems on the floor. And I noticed that Iron Souls mentioned this as well, and I had the same thought, is that it's not just the show floor that's going to have problems, it's the offsites as well.
Yes. Because
people will be going everywhere else except for the panel rooms when they don't, or actually not the panel rooms, but the line for the panel rooms. They're going to go elsewhere. Yep. And that elsewhere is the show floor and the offsites.
Yep.
So yes, you are going to experience a longer wait in some of those areas or a more crowded floor. It is not the fault of the lottery. I think the lottery is going to be a far less problem to those areas than the panels themselves will be. But also what this may do is you, as a person who goes to panels, may have a chance to see more panels than you usually do each year. You have a chance, as we mentioned, to go see something and then get into Hall H, which in the past has not been possible.
Absolutely. If you want to go to Hall H this year and you've never been, this is your year.
And to see something good, not just to see, you know, whatever random thing they throw in like a trailer park, but to actually see some good panels without having to wait, you know, 10 hours in line.
My first year, I wandered into Hall H and got like second row seats, saw a whole bunch of great panels, and I have never been back since because it was not really possible. So maybe this year.
It might be. Truly, like I keep saying this, but I just don't think Hall H is going to be, I don't think any panel is going to be that bad. I mean, unless something crazy just gets announced. Even Warner Brothers, which I know everybody keeps saying like, well, Warner Brothers is going to like require an overnight wait. I don't think so. Unless something just totally crazy gets announced in that room that we don't know about.
Because everybody has to remember that the reason why there's an overnight wait required is because Warner Brothers is in the morning and Marvel is in the evening. Yep. And right now there is nothing with the draw of Marvel to get that many people into the line in addition to the WB people.
Yep.
So if there's no other draw like that, then it's only going to be the W people there for the first of the morning types. And it won't require as much of a wait. I mean, the last time Marvel wasn't there, and it was the Fox Marvel stuff in Hall H on Saturday night, people walked in to the line like between 7 and 8 a.m. and still got in for WB.
Yeah.
So it is possible, and it's only with other things are massive in Hall H are you going to have a problem.
I agree. And like we just said, with no Marvel and no Game of Thrones, like Hall H is just not going to be that bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of that, there is a question relating similarly by Mike Nelson. It says, do you feel the Comic-Con organizers are forcing turnover in the big rooms by adding video game stuff and mixing genres, yet clumping similar things like DC Day in 6 and Star Wars in 7?
It feels like that may be the case. Now, they've always done those things like the DC, the video games, and the Marvel and the Star Wars in one room. They've always done that. So I don't think that is a change, but I think throwing in these random things like the Marvel Games panel and the trailer park and having movies in the morning and TVs in the evening, I think all of this is to help promote turnover.
I completely agree. And again, some of the way that they schedule things has to do with what times the studios request. And then some of it, like James says, is indeed to encourage turnover. But it's just a little bit of both, I think.
Do you think they don't do that in the previous years, or do they try to, but they just know people won't do it because they know everyone's going to stay there and wait for Marvel?
Well, I mean, I think part of the reason in the past is I pretty much guarantee you Warner Brothers probably request that early morning Saturday time slot, and Marvel probably requests that evening time slot, and everything else just gets slotted in. But those are the two biggest panels of the day, so those are the ones that people stay in the room all day for.
Right. And the two things that the Comic-Con staff has to deal with is getting people into the panels so that they're not on the show floor, because that will be way too crowded with how many people are in the convention. And the second is getting rid of lines, because they don't like the lines. They don't like people camping out. They don't want people doing that. They want people enjoying the convention, not sleeping on the grass. So anything that they can do to help do that, they're going to try. And so this may be one of their solutions this year, is to mix up what's in the big rooms where most people do wait in line.
And I did want to mention, Mike Nelson also asked, so will all the campers have to find hotels to walk in? Don't get, absolutely still going to be plenty of people who camp out overnight. Like, that's not going to stop. But those are the people who want to be in the very front of the room. Those are not the people who only care about making it into the room. So let those people line up on Wednesday night and you stroll up Friday morning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're not a front of the room person, you're going to have a great convention this year, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm anticipating I will get to see a greater variety of things than I have in a lot of years in the past, without having to sit through a bunch of other stuff just to get to the one panel I want at 4 o'clock.
I agree.
It's going to be great, I hope. Except for the fact that all the panels are at the same time that we want to see.
Again, completely agree. All right, so looking at questions. Has Netflix announced any panels yet? We know 3 Netflix panels. The Toys That Made Us, Iron Fist, and then whatever that other one is.
The Black
Summer?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But no, they have not officially released a press release. When will they announce how to get Winona Earp premiere tickets at Horton? When they announce it. Is my answer. But again, it will be a ticket draw up in sales. The only real question is basically what time it's going to start, but they will announce that soon-ish. Who's Nick asked, will it be difficult to get into Scare Diego? Probably, because
Yeah.
I've had about 500 people ask me how to get in, and I think that the Horton holds like 250.
Exactly.
So there's your answer. See here.
So the Saturday schedule will, of course, be out tomorrow, and then Sunday on Sunday. And we will be back with our Saturday and Sunday schedule wrap up and everything like we did today at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern.
On Sunday
Afternoon.
Yep. Hopefully this was beneficial to you. As always, we try to have this be informative. Hopefully we succeed a little bit there, and hopefully we answered some of your questions and helped you make a better plan.
And of course, we will always be available on Twitter and such for questions, but this will hopefully, again, just guide you and give you kind of a feel for the convention this year. So we have, what, two more podcasts before the end of the year, just the schedule for that, and then next week's on Tuesday?
Yes, 2 more podcasts. So like James said, the schedule one Sunday, and then on Tuesday we will be joined by Kevin Eastman. So that'll be fun, and that will be our very last podcast before the convention. All
right. So we're getting close, but if someone you know still needs badges, all hope is not lost yet. There are contests, and all the contests that are available on our contest tab on the site.
Yep. Let's see here. Our party is back on preview night. We will be at McFadden's from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Prize Mule also returns this year. We have so many amazing sponsors. In fact, we just added 2 this last week. If you didn't notice, we added Mondo and then the BBC shop.
Join us, as we mentioned, 2 more times. And then if there is any reason to do a 3rd additional final podcast, like, I don't know. But what would we do a final podcast for?
I don't think anything, because this will have been, we're doing like 4 in a week.
Yeah, that's enough.
It's enough. I'll be busy writing other news.
Oh, were we going to tease any other buttons, or are we going to wait for Tuesday to do that?
I'm going to wait. And I believe that our next button will be revealed on our Instagram account. So make sure you follow us there.
All right.
And sign up for our newsletter. We send them out once a week leading up to the convention, and we'll recap the previous week so you won't miss anything you need to know.
Thank you all for joining us. Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon, and you can also find me manning the blog. Sarah?
You can find me on Twitter at Rufus Bear, and I'm going to try to use my Instagram as much as the Sprint Network gods will allow me to, and that is slacey75.
And Sarah, do you want to ask James something?
Oh, yeah. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Well, you can find me all over the internet at Dan Riegel, and you can check out geekshotphoto.com for photography links for my wife and I. And also, thank you to Beth, our producer, who edits the show and all the other things to get the podcast done. She created the slides and all of that. So I think that's all. I think that's all.
I think so too. Thank you, Beth. We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We're also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomicon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody, go
short. I forgot to say it.
Go get in line.